We're talking about a welterweight matchup. Leon Edwards opened up as a minus 500 favorite with a plus 380 comeback for Nathan Diaz, the Stockton kid, man. Let me just tell you this, AJ. This is the biggest underdog position Nate Diaz has been in his entire career. Did you know that when he fought Conor McGregor, the opening odds weren't as bad as this? Did you know that the second highest plus money that Nate Diaz has ever faced in his entire life was when he fought Donald Cerrone at UFC 141. He was a plus 280 underdog in that fight. This is really telling right here, because this is people either saying after the Jorge Masvidal BMF championship fight, they were like, yeah, bro, I'm not wasting my money on you ever again. Odds makers are pissed off. Somebody's mad. And I'll tell you, as much of a mismatch, I'll be open and transparent. I think this is a major mismatch. I think that Nate Diaz could have took a bunch of different fights to come back, because his fight, so in his last five, he's fought once in 2015, twice in 2016. Those are the McGregor fights. Once in 2019, or twice in 2019. So he hasn't fought since 2019. So you're making your 2-year comeback against Leon Edwards, bro. Like, that is a tall ass task right there. And I don't know why this is happening, other than he's probably like, I don't give a fuck. I'm just going to do it. He even said it. He was like, I don't care if I lose. I'm fighting for a title next. Like, in his world, he just, every fight is the title fight. It doesn't matter win or lose. With that being said, AJ, how do you react to the biggest underdog spot Nate Diaz has ever been in his career? How do you react to that?
I mean, that's kind of so that I did not know that. First off, I did not know that was that big of an underdog rating. And I'm kind of shocked by it, because I feel like in media popularity, Leon is kind of the more underhyped guy. You would think that, as much as not getting as much attention as, all the 3-piece in the soda, the whole, even being from England, he doesn't get as much just press as the Stockton kid does. So I would be under the assumption that Nate Diaz would come in as the hometown favorite, as the guy that's going to get it done. So I'm kind of shocked by that. But personally, I think they have it right. I think they have it right. I mean, we've all seen kind of what's going on with Nate Diaz. Yeah, he's a BMF, contender, and he might be one of the BMF in the entire organization. But you get cut up like that, it's only going to be so long until the doctor calls it. And you can only take so much punishment for so long. You know what I'm saying? And that's 100% Diaz's style. It's just bunches and bunches. Let's land some shots and see who's going to fall first.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I will have to say this. I am surprised too, because the verbiage around it is saying people are surprised that there isn't more dumb public money on Nate Diaz. And that's just the casual, right? The one that says, I've never heard of that Edwards guy, but Nate Diaz, I know him. So yeah, of course he's going to win, right? Like, that's just not the proper way to look at that if you're any serious type of, what I'm saying, making any wagers or whatever. But with that being said, man, I do have to back up Nate Diaz a little bit, just a little bit, right? Because I rewatched that Jorge Masvidal fight recently, clearly doing some fight study for this fight. It's not nearly as one-sided as one would come to believe, with like revisionist history. The way people are talking about it, they're saying like Nate Diaz looked like he didn't belong in the same cage. He didn't belong in the sport of MMA with Jorge Masvidal. And I'll agree, Masvidal was putting it on him. He was working him. Masvidal took the approach of, I'm going to throw everything heavy. I'm going to throw everything hard. I'm going to try to just get you out of there and make you quit. And when Nate Diaz was about to enter the championship rounds, they never did. It got stopped at the end of the third round. Nate Diaz was still there. And Jorge Masvidal was doing a bunch of this. And this is the universal sign for keep your hands up over your head because you're tired, right? So Masvidal was getting tired. I'm not going to say Nate Diaz had a real deal chance of winning the fight on points unless he finished Masvidal, but Masvidal was getting tired. And if there's one thing that we know about Nate Diaz, we know that he's in it for the long haul. That's where he's best at, in the championship rounds, drowning you. Him and his brother train triathlons all the time, right? Paul Felder's getting a dose of that right now. The retired Irish Dragon, he's getting a dose of that and talking about how difficult that is. These dudes have been doing it for the better parts of their career. So with that being said, AJ, let's talk about how this fight plays out. Both of these fighters are southpaws, right? That's important to know. Leon Edwards, man, do you think that they're going to have him on a very tight leash after his eye poke incident with Bilal Muhammad? Do you think that there is an opportunity, if there was like a prop bet, what would you think the odds would be for Leon Edwards getting a point deducted in this fight for having his fingers outstretched?
I mean, pretty high. I definitely think that's a favorite in the bets for sure. Because even I was rewatching the fight, and even after the warning by Herb Dean to keep his hands up, every single time Leon would check anything, hands were out, literally
Mhm.
fingers out, going the whole time, didn't stop at all. So is that the glove fault? Is that Edwards' fault? I don't know, but I would say that's pretty high for the finger poke, my man. 100%. What do you think?
Well, I think that I mean to legitimately get a point taken away, that would either have to be a very I don't know who's going to be judging or who's going to be reffing this fight, but it would have to be very like, hey, motherfucker, like no, like do you remember that time where Herb Dean? I don't know if you remember this, man, but I was cracking the fuck up. It was a fight, and Herb Dean was reffing it, and one of the fighters like grabbed the cage, and he was like, hey, motherfucker, like like Herb Dean, like legitimately, like you could hear it and everything. It was fucking hilarious. So unless you got a dude who's like that type of hype, where he's like, hey, nope, see, point, get the fuck, no, stop it. Because I remember the next UFC event that happened right after the eye poke situation with Bilal, they were heavy on it. They were like, nope, you're gonna keep your fingers in, you're not gonna do that. Like they were really, really adamant about it. So I think that's gonna be an interesting little plot twist to this fight. You know, a little. I don't know what you would call it, you know, just a little caveat to the fight, right? But like I said, let's actually break this down for what it's worth, man. Leon Edwards, I think, is going to take that Jorge Masvidal approach, and I think he's going to try to blast Diaz and try to get him out of there early. What happens, because Leon Edwards has fought recently. It was his fight against RDA back in 2019. Not that recently, but just 2 fights ago. That was a 5-round fight. So who do you think is fresher come round 4, AJ? That's always my question.
That's hard. That's hard, man. I think with this one, who's fresher in round 4 in the championship rounds, I always got to go Nate Diaz. We haven't seen him crack yet. We haven't seen him wilt at all in as far as the the momentum or the his energy levels or anything like that. And his output always stays high. Now that being said, Leon Edwards, that dude's no joke. All right. First off, this dude very powerful, long, lanky. He can keep you at the end of the punches. Very talented, and the dude's a bomber, right? Like he doesn't get enough credit, I think. Like I said, very underrated, but this dude can bang, all right? So, yeah, I mean, I think Nate Diaz is going to be a little fresher as far as the fight goes, just because maybe he's going to be throwing less pop on the shots, more volume instead of power. Where Leon Edwards, man, if he gets the opportunity, he's going to start throwing 5, 6, 7 heavy punches just to try to get you out in the first round, which he can. He's very, very strong. So I'm going with Nate Diaz with that one. Who are you thinking?
I think that it's going to be interesting to see because, like, it depends on a couple different intangibles, right? Is any wrestling going to take place into this? You know what I mean? Is Nate Diaz going to take a different approach than he did in the Masvidal fight? Is he going to try to just come out there and say, like, listen, man, I'm going to throw 4 and 5 every time that I throw? You know, because that is one thing that I really do like about Nate Diaz is that he's not going to throw 1. And for a counter striker like Leon Edwards, right? Oftentimes he's countering off of 1, off of 2. You know what I mean? And Nate Diaz will be like, well, I'll throw 1, 2, 3, 4. You know, they're not really, it's like, it's literally shots like this, like, you know, just kind of slapping shots, pawing away shots, as opposed to just really sticking you, you know what I mean? Like a Leon Edwards, right? So it's going to be interesting to see how that one plays out. But I definitely think that Nate Diaz, if you're going with history, you're going to say that come round 4, man, he's going to be ready to go. And we don't know if his opposition will be. But I want to ask you about mind games, man. I want to talk about psychological warfare. We know Nate Diaz is a big, big master of the psychological warfare, kind of like a Conor McGregor. Do you think that he's going to be talking to Leon Edwards like how he was talking to Jorge Masvidal? And do you think that Leon Edwards, like, who's to say Nate Diaz is like, yeah, I'm gonna, you know, give you the 2-piece in a soda like Masvidal did, or so, you know, just something crazy like that. You know what I mean? And try to get in his head. Do you think Edwards would fall for the bait in a situation like that?
I kind of do. I kind of do, especially with how Edwards reacted after the whole 3-piece and soda incident, where like the whole crowd came running. He's like, I'm going to dust him. I'm going to dust him in his English accent, whatever he was
Yeah.
saying. And so I kind of think he's got a little bit of that gangster in him. You know, not a lot of credit gets given to the gangsters across the pond,
Yeah.
but they're out there, man. They'll shiv you for sure.
Oh, shit.
And Leon grew up in the streets, man. He's dangerous for sure. But I definitely think Nate's gonna be talking some shit, gonna be getting in his head. He's a master of it. He knows the game plan. He knows how to clown. He knows how to make you press those buttons, get you a little bit antsy. And I think Leon Edwards has that kind of fighter in him, you know, that kind of mentality where he's gonna be like, all right, bro, like let's go. Like I'm not taking this shit. So I think it could work. I hope it works. I hope they're talking shit. That's gonna be fun to see.
It would, and I think that there's something deep down in the database in the memory banks of Leon Edwards that says if someone ever punks me like that again, I'm not going to react the way I did last time. I'm going to do something about it because it's kind of gone away. Would you agree? It's kind of the 3-piece and a soda. It's more like, oh, Jorge Masvidal, 3-piece and soda, but who did he do it against? Like it's not even memorable enough to be like, oh yeah, that English dude, like there's that random guy that he got it against, man. But let's talk about just their records overall, right? 18-3 is Leon Edwards, 20-12 is Nate Diaz. So they got similar, I mean, experience, kind of, not really. You know what I'm saying? Like Diaz has probably 10 more fights or whatever the case may be, but 15-10 in the UFC for Diaz, 10-2 for Leon Edwards. But what's important to note about this is Diaz, obviously, he kind of retired from the 155 division. You know, his last 4 fights have taken place at 170 pounds, and he has gone 2-2 in that span. So it's not really the greatest, greatest spot to be in if you're Nate Diaz. If he loses this fight, AJ, clearly there's a lot of pressure on him. I was talking about this with a colleague of mine earlier, and just saying that, like, I think that the pressure is on Leon Edwards, but in a weird way, it's also on Nate Diaz, because if you're Nate Diaz, yeah, losing to McGregor, okay, whatever, you know what I mean? Losing to Leon Edwards, the casuals are gonna be like, who? You lost to, huh? I'm not tuning into this fight. I don't want to watch you fight anymore. If you know what I mean. Who do you think the pressure is truly on more? Because being a minus 500 favorite, I mean, that's a lot of pressure right there.
Yeah, and I definitely think the pressure's on Edwards to perform. He kind of didn't have. He had a really good outing. Don't get me wrong. He had a really good outing against Bilal Muhammad. He was controlling the fight. I definitely think he won the first round. He was winning the second until the eye poke. But I would feel like the pressure is a little more on Nate for exactly that. Sure, this sport might be a what have you done for me lately, and what we've lately seen has been Nate Diaz just say whatever he's going to do and then go out and do it. No other fighter can do that besides Conor McGregor. And I mean, that's kind of a double-edged sword he's fighting with. Yeah, you're bad. You talk all this game. You can eat people's heads. You're going to stalk and slap everybody. You even stalk and slap the boss. He's gangster. He's gangster for sure. But what if he loses? Man, the risks are high. The reward is very, very high as well. And even if he does lose, he still thinks he's getting a title shot, but I don't think that's going to be the case. I don't think Nate Diaz has that kind of star power, that kind of pull anymore, especially if you lose to, quote unquote, a nobody from across the pond.
I'm going to have to disagree with you, because I do think Nate Diaz is a star. I think that it doesn't matter who he fights. People are going to tune in just because of the spectacle that is Nate Diaz, but he also has to bring the persona. You have to bring the bad boy with you. You know what I mean? You can't be how McGregor wanted to come out all nice and respectful to Porter. You can't do that if you're Nate Diaz, because your whole entire image is the bad boy. And I mean, he's a bad motherfucker. He is legitimately, man. Listen, second degree BJJ black belt, 8-time fight of the night winner, the tough number 5 winner, third most submission wins at 155 with 7. And he, like I said, biggest underdog spot of his career. So it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out, AJ. The last thing that I have to note is that both of these fighters do average over a takedown per fight, but Leon Edwards has a 70% takedown defense. So if this is just a striking affair, I mean, both of them are really good on the feet, man. And I guess the last thing to note for Nate Diaz, I talked about those combinations, man. Leon Edwards can't. So you've heard this, right? Leon Edwards doesn't fight as well off of his back foot. That's what Bilal Muhammad says. So that's what he wanted to do against him. Nate Diaz can put you on the back foot simply because he's long, man. Those shots are just out there, just, pushing you back. It'll be interesting to see how it plays out, AJ. And then you already alluded to it before we give our pick. Over under on Stockton slaps in this fight. I'm going to go 2. Give me the over-under on 2.
Oh, I'm going over. I'm going over on that all day. I think he's going to be slapping like at least twice a round.
Oh, shit. Okay. All right. Right on. Because it's funny, right? Because to him, in a way, that's kind of like how Kevin Holland took down Derek Brunson. He was like, that was just the win for me right there. Like, I think to him, if he Stockton slaps you, he can hold that over you forever. He's like, I slapped that motherfucker. Like, what are you talking about, right? But with that being said, man, let's go picks, man. I'm going Leon Edwards. And listen, I think that as much as Nate Diaz is the hometown hero, he's from Stockton, California. I grew up 30 minutes away in Modesto, California. Trust me, him and Nick Diaz originally, but him and his brother were the pinnacles of Central Valley MMA when I was growing up. Kind of like how you got that Diego Sanchez, you just got that personal kind of connection, right? I'm going Leon Edwards, man. KO round 4, you know what I'm saying? I think he gets him out of there, and I don't think it's going to be a knockout. I think it'll be a TKO, another cut type situation, you feel me? Because, listen, Leon Edwards, he gets you in that ground and pound with those elbows. It's going to be very similar to the Masvidal fight, I personally believe. But, yeah, give me your pick and how, AJ.
Yeah, I'm with you, Derek. I don't get me wrong, I'm a big Diaz fighter fan, man. I love these guys. They've been doing it for years. But I'm going Leon Edwards, and I'm actually going by decision. I'm kind of shocked with that TKO finish, because I definitely think if there's going to be a way that it gets ended early, it's going to be by a doctor stoppage. I don't want to see that, so I'm going by decision. Let's go.
Yeah, I mean, I hear you, man. And like I said, I don't even want these words to come out of my mouth, man. But when you saw that cut get opened up in that Jorge Masvidal fight, that's just scar tissue, man. You know what I mean? It's been a while, but all you got to do is hit it a couple times and it opens it right back up. You know what I'm saying? The unfortunate part about the, human physiology, right?